There we go. Hey everybody, it's Lieutenant Mia here again with another video. I know it's been a while, but I figured I'd make one while some of the stuff in my head is still fresh, just to kind of touch on IFT, Initial Flight Training for the Combat Systems Officer pipeline, um, going into it, kind of what to expect and what to bring. And I'm going to try to touch on a few other things that might be helpful. And this information is current as of June 2018. Between now and then, if things change, I just want to make a disclaimer that, you know, this is just how it was when I went through. So if it changes for you, I apologize. But for those of you that are about to go, or those of you that are curious as to what happens there and what to kind of look forward to or what to prepare for, this video is going to touch on that. So I'll start with my expectations going in. So IFT was for some reason one of those things that everybody from my detachment and everybody who came back from it, when they talk about it, they're like, oh, it's just, it's just a TDY where you go fly a little plane. And while that is what it is in the grand scheme of things, no one ever really talks about how like difficult it is. And for me, I found it really challenging. I know people's mileage may vary, but everybody that went through with me found it pretty tough. So that's the first thing I'd like to touch on going in. Don't underestimate IFT. Um, Now, IFT changed from initial flight screening to initial flight training. So it went from IFS to IFT. So their motive there really isn't to weed people out anymore, but that's not to say that that isn't a possibility if you can't keep up with the curriculum. So in essence, what I'm trying to get at is go in with the mentality of I am going to study 24/7 because that is what the Air Force is paying me to do. And that's basically what's going to happen. You're going to get paid to basically and learn, sleep, or learn, apply, sleep, eat, learn, apply, sleep over and over. You're going to learn something, apply it the next day, sleep and eat. And you'll have some time to have some fun on the weekends and stuff, but for a 95+% of it, be prepared to study and be prepared to study a lot. This might be different for those of you who have had prior flight experience. Me, I didn't have that much. I had a few scenic hours logged. Um, Not really much stick time. So it was a bit of and I'm sure you've heard this, like a fire hose going in, and they just dump all this knowledge on you and expect you to retain it and apply it. Um, so that's the first thing I want to touch on. Don't underestimate this program. It's possible. I'm an idiot, and if I can make it through, I'm pretty sure anybody can. But just don't go into it thinking it's going to be a TDY where you'll get to ride around in an airplane and come back home, and that's that. Take it seriously, study hard, and you'll do okay. So I'll kind of break down the curriculum and how it was. So what'll happen is you'll land in Denver. A shuttle will pick you up. Make sure you call ahead to let the people at DOS know that you're arriving, the day you're arriving, and where you're coming from, so they can send the shuttle to pick you up. I don't think they'll let you take an Uber from there. So if that's what you're trying to plan for, I don't think they'll let you do it. So make sure you get that shuttle scheduled. The shuttle will pick you up. It's about a 40-minute ride over to DOS. Enjoy the ride. Enjoy the scenery, because if you don't have a car like I didn't, you're not going to get out much. Then you'll get to DOS. It's kind of in the middle of nowhere. Pueblo is not that bad in terms of like cities kind of out in the middle of nowhere, but it's definitely on that spectrum of like, okay, well, there's not a ton to do. You'll get to Pueblo, you'll check into the front desk. That's when you'll find out if you have a roommate or not. Some people got lucky and didn't have a roommate, but the majority of people were double billeted, so expect to potentially have a roommate. I had a unique situation where I had a roommate, and then about 2.5 weeks in, they couldn't figure out the AC situation in there in my room, so they just moved me because the AC was like way too cold for me. I was like starting to get sick. And they tried to turn it down, but it wouldn't work. So I got lucky, and they got me my own room eventually. But you might have a roommate. Now, with that, you can request a roommate ahead in advance. If you know someone, for example, in your class that you're like, oh, I wouldn't mind rooming with this person, you can call ahead and say, hey, I would like to be in a room with he or she, and then they'll accommodate you accordingly. CISOs, pilots, and RPA guys will all be roomed with similar classifications, meaning CISOs will be rooming with CISOs, pilots will be rooming with pilots, and RPAs are with RPAs. I don't think they make, no, I'm not, not I don't think, they definitely don't mix pilots, CISOs, RPAs, and pilots, things like that. You'll stick with whoever you're going in with. Um, You'll get situated, you'll move in and unpack all your stuff. Um, the rooms themselves are not bad. Some people complain about the beds being uncomfortable, but I didn't think they were that bad. The pillows were, I don't know, people complain about the beds and pillows, but I slept fine. What's really nice is you will get room service every single day. So you'll wake up, you'll go out to your class, do your stuff, and come back, and everything's like made for you. All your towels are replaced, your bed's made. It's pretty sweet. You don't have to clean your own room. What does suck about the rooms though is it's centrally controlled temperature. Now, I'm in the dorms right now. This is the Air Force dorms, and this is all centrally controlled too. But I don't have an issue with the temperature. It's been fine. But over there, like, it fluctuates drastically. Some days it'll be really hot. Some days it's really cold. I don't know if that's just the room I was in or the wing of the DOS facility that I was in, but it got pretty bad in terms of just not having a consistent temperature. So just be prepared. With that, I'd say pack extra layers. For some reason, people didn't tell me to pack jackets and sweaters, and I wish I would have because I had to go buy it over there. Um, and it would have been nice to bring my own jacket and sweater in case I did get cold, which happened a lot. So just learn from me. Take some sweaters and jackets and long pants just in case you get cold too, because it totally messes up your study vibes if you're not comfortable. Um, that covers it for the room. The room has a TV. Some of them have newer flat screen TVs, and some of them have like the older cathode ray tube type TVs, which are the big ones. So it's kind of luck of the draw if you're bringing like an Xbox or a PS3 or something like that. Uh, the older ones don't have HDMI, so you might need to, you know, bring a converter cable if that's what you plan on doing if you're like a gamer or something. Um, what else to bring for the room or amenities? There's a microwave in there, and there is a little mini fridge that you can keep your. It's like a hotel room, so you can keep some foods in there, non-perishable foods. Um, that covers it for the room. You'll share a bathroom with your roommate if you end up having a roommate, um, and you have a small little closet area. Laundry is also self-service, so that you'll have to bring detergent for. So if you bring some Tide Pods or something, it'll come in handy because I had to go buy detergent and I had to go buy sweatpants and a jacket, which if I brought it, would have saved me time and money. So bring those things. There's also a coffee machine in the room. I recommend if you're a big coffee person and you're picky about your coffee, uh, pack your own like coffee beans or go buy your own because I know some people didn't like the DFAC coffee, and you'll need coffee. Trust me, I'm not even a coffee drinker, but like if I was, uh, it'll help with staying awake. And there's a lot of, forcing yourself to stay awake at DOS. Um, so that covers it for the room. As far as the rest of the facility, there's a small shop in the building. There is it's 24/7 self-service, so there's like a cash register with a little laser scanner, and all the food and stuff that they sell is in the shop, and you just pick it up and scan it and use a credit card to pay for it. So that's pretty sweet, 24/7. I'm a late night person, so I would always just go buy snacks and buy whatever else I needed, and it comes in pretty handy when the DFAC is closed, or you just want a snack or you want a energy drink, you can just go get it whenever. The rest of the facility, it's got a gym, kind of on the smaller side. Most of it, the majority of it, is a basketball court and a volleyball court, and then there's some machines and a room with treadmills and stairmaster and things like that. And you're required to log as a CISO 10 hours before you leave. So the first week you go in, you'll log 3 with your group PTs, and then you're required to log 7 for the rest of the month while you're there, 7 hours on your own. So don't forget to do that because if you don't log your PT hours on their computer system there, they call it GTIMS, and I'll mention that again. Their computer system thing's called GTIMS. If you don't log it in GTIMS and you go and you graduate and you're ready to get your certificate and your flight commander logs in and sees that you don't have your PT hours, they can totally like not let you go home until you do it. So that would really suck. Make sure you're logging your hours as you go along. On top of that, I would also log your hours on like maybe a piece of paper, on a scrap piece of paper or on a notebook in your computer or something, because sometimes the computer app doesn't function properly, and that way you can have some kind of proof for the dates and times that you went in. The dining facility, about that's the next amenity. It's pretty sweet. The food there is pretty good. It does get old after a while though, as in like all the food kind of starts to taste like DFAC food. But as far as DFACs go, it's one of the better ones I've tasted. The people there are super, super nice, and this isn't just at the DFAC, it's the facility overall. Like, you'll find that the people there, it's like their sole purpose is pretty much to make your life easier. They're super friendly. They'll remember your name. They leave little notes in your room, like little motivational quotes. And like I know that sounds cheesy and stuff, but like when you're struggling and you're going through some rough times, it helps. But back to the DFAC, you're allowed to go for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They're open for like 2 hour windows. Um, I don't remember the hours off the top of my head. I know for lunch it's from like 12 to 2, and then for dinner it's 4 to 6, and then breakfast has a longer window. I think it's from like 4 to 8, something like that. But I could be wrong. I don't remember. I just do know that during those windows, you as a student can go in and out as many times as you want, and you can take a takeout box and fill it up with however much food you want. So food, you'll have plenty of it. There's not, you know, an issue with you going back. If you need food while the doors are closed, like let's just say you had a late flight or an early flight or something and you missed your window to go get food, just knock on the door and they'll like get you a to-go box with food or something. Like they'll make sure you get fed. And the food changes each day for each meal, so it's pretty nice. I know Tuesdays they try to do Taco Tuesday, and then there's like Oriental food on Fridays. Like the food's pretty good. Take advantage of the ice cream machine if it's not broken. It was working for like a few days while I was there, and then it shut down. So ice cream's kind of nice. It's towards the left side when you're leaving near the cash registers. It's kind of hidden, so if you're an ice cream person, that's kind of nice. If you're a smoker, there's like some outside designated smoking areas which are kind of, you know, secluded. So I guess get with another smoker and they can point you towards that. I'm not a smoker, but I hung out there sometimes because it's like the only place you can really step outside of the building, and it's kind of nice stepping out. I'm trying to touch on what else the building has. It's also got a cockpit simulator room on the first floor, kind of towards like way buried in the back of the building, and they have some DA-20 cockpits, simulated cockpits that have all the buttons and the stick and pretty much the identical layout that you'll be using when you're flying. Um, so, you know, for some people it helps. For other people, I've found like doesn't help. So your mileage may vary with how much that benefits you personally. Um, it's usually full during the like daytime, but I usually went in there in the evenings or at night, and it helped me. So there's some cockpit simulators. You can also during daylight hours, so like up until like 10 p.m. I believe. Maybe it was a little earlier than that, 9. I just know up until a certain point at night, you can actually step out to the hangars and sit in the actual aircraft, open the canopy, do your pre-flight walk around, practice if you want, climb in the cockpit and practice. They just don't like you turning on the battery of the aircraft, the battery switch, so make sure you don't turn that on. And they also want you to leave the aircraft the way you found it. So make sure when you leave the aircraft, if you're going out to the hangars, to lock it back the way it was, set the wheel, not the wheel, the brakes and the control lock in, and make sure all the switches are in the off position before you step out. There's also a track in the back. It's outdoors, and it's the most jankiest track you'll ever run on. It's like it looks like a prison yard, honestly. It's really weird. The facility, the rest of it is really nice, but that track is super super crappy. And then when you go do your like FA and you do your run on it, it's really narrow, and you have like 8 people trying to run across. So just if you're a runner, I would stick to the treadmills because that track is sketch. There's also like animals out there, like scorpions and stuff apparently. So I try not to go out there that much. That pretty much does it for the facility. Um, there's a main auditorium where you'll do your classes, like your academic stuff, and then you'll have your flight rooms, and that's pretty much it for the amenities there. Moving into what you'll do. Man, this video is running long. It's already at 14 minutes, but I'll keep rambling, I guess. Um, the first week is going to be academics. So it's going to be straight up 7 days of, or 5 days of 8 hour blocks of academics, of PowerPoint slides, readings, and narrated like presentations. So just be prepared to stay awake. And that kind of bit me in the, you know, rear end in the beginning because I didn't take the academics that seriously. And after you have your academics, you'll take a test, and you have to get an 86 or higher on that test. Um, it's actually an 85 or higher, but since it's an even number of tests, you can only get an 86 with passing. And I missed it with an 84. And if you miss the test, you'll get pushed back on your academics, and you can't proceed into your flights without passing that test. So if you start stumbling with a bad start, it will set you back really far. And that's what happened to me. And while the rest of my class progressed and moved on to their later blocks, I was always one block behind them, and I was playing catch up. And when you're the one studying by yourself, it makes it really tough because you can't ask questions with everybody because they're too busy studying the new material to help you with the old one. So, long story short, take the academics really seriously. That first weekend you have, it's going to be very tempting to just relax and go out and have fun and, relax, take a little bit of a break, but don't go into full decompression mode because you need to study like it's nobody's business that Saturday and Sunday going into your test. I recommend taking the quizzes that they'll post online, and you should be passing each quiz for each module. Um, the test covers 9 modules, and the quizzes for those modules are on there. You should get at least an 85 on each practice quiz to really be prepared for that test. Also, if you're wondering what materials to study, there's 2 resources they'll give you. They'll give you the PowerPoint slides, and they'll give you a reading block, like a reading PDF. Now, if you're short on time, I would say the test can be passed if you just study those slides and take the quizzes. But if you really want a thorough understanding, like there's a concept you don't understand during the presentations, definitely look into the readings for that. And go into the test being able to pass all of the quizzes. Because if you can't pass the quizzes, there's a good chance you'll miss a section on the test. Because the test is all randomly generated. It's 50 questions. I think it was 50 questions. I'm pretty sure it was 50 questions, and it's from a random test bank. So let's just say, for example, there's a presentation on weather theory, and you don't do well on weather theory. There could be a chance that the test pulled a bunch of weather theory questions, and you can only miss 8 questions, and you could have 10 questions that are all weather theory, and if you don't know it, then you're not going to pass that test. And that's what happened to me. I struggled with the airspace questions, and I had like 12 airspace questions on my test. And because of that, I didn't pass. And I just thought, well, I don't understand the airspace section, but I understand the other modules. I'll be okay. And I wasn't. So make sure you understand everything, because everything is fair game for the test. After the test, you'll move on to being grouped into your flight. You'll be put in a flight. You'll have a flight room, and you'll go into formal briefings and other things. I think I'll make a separate video just for this, for flight advice and formal briefings and what to do to prepare for flights, because this video is already running long, so I'll make a separate video about that. But after your test, you'll move into your flight, you'll get put in a flight, and then you'll start your actual flight training in the DA-20. But that covers it for that. Now, just so this video doesn't run a million years long, hold on, there's a jet flying over. Okay, it's gone. I figure I would do a quick little rundown on items to bring for IFT. And we'll just move into that. Okay, so first and foremost, for those of you who are going to be in processing to Pueblo, and you've already been at Pensacola before you go and you went to your gear issue, then they should give you most of this stuff. There are a few people from the Guard that I've heard went directly to Pueblo and they didn't get all of this issued. So you might have to, if you're one of those people, you might have to buy this yourself. All of this is in here, and this is the first thing I'll start with. It's a good flight bag. It's a helmet bag, so if you're at Pensacola first, they'll issue you this helmet bag. If you don't want to spend the money on a helmet bag, just a backpack, something small to carry all your stuff to the flight line to make sure it's not floating away, because the maintainers and the pilots, the instructor pilots, are really picky about loose items. So make sure you have a bag to carry all your stuff when you're walking out to the flight line, and just to carry stuff in general. This is honestly the perfect size, in my opinion, because it's big enough to carry all the materials, plus the laptop they issue you, and everything else you'll need for your flight. So a good bag is the number one thing. And then we'll move into actual contents of the bag. So this, again, not mandatory. This is something that I personally think is helpful. A canteen with an insulated internal, what's the word? An insulated thermos. Why am I stumbling with this? It's just nice to have because it gets really, really hot. And the aircraft you'll be flying, the DA-20, the internal and environmental control systems are pretty much non-existent, as in the AC, quote-unquote, is basically the outside air being blown at your face. So having a bottle that can keep cold water cold for a long time comes in really, really handy. Because they do sell bottles there. They'll sell you like the squadron bottle, but it's not insulated, and it gets really leaky, and then if your hand gets wet and you're touching your mission papers and stuff, It'll get soggy. It's miserable. So I recommend one that's like easy open, push a button, flips open, and it stays cold for a few hours. That way you can have some cold water on your flights, and it does make all the difference. Because the more relaxed you are, the better you're gonna fly. And I know it sounds crazy, how much difference can a water bottle make? But take one of those with you, and you'll have a better time. Next up is for guys like me who wear glasses. Bring 2 pairs of glasses. You never know what'll happen. Make sure they're meet Air Force regs, but bring a second pair of glasses because they can potentially kick you out if your glasses break and you don't have a replacement. I know someone who got the boot. I mean, they didn't get kicked out of the Air Force or out of IFT, but they had to come back because they didn't have a second pair, and it's just a pain to get you a second one. So bring a second pair, and yeah, that's what I'm trying to get. Next up, we've got, I don't even know what you call this thing. A plotter? Whatever, this thing. They issue you this at Pensacola at Gear Issue. I don't even know what it's called, and I don't honestly know why they make you take this thing, because you literally use it once. You'll use it during your whiz wheel lesson, and then you'll never use it again. At least I didn't. So you'll probably need this for later CISO training down the track here, and if you do, I'll cover that in the video when I start actual training for CISO here. But they'll give this to you, but I don't remember using this, or I remember using it once, so it's not that important. But I guess bring it because they gave it to you. Next thing is a pair of flight gloves. So make sure they are Nomex or whatever material is fireproof. It's the standard one that they issue you here. But if you're coming from somewhere where they didn't issue it to you, make sure you order a pair of these. Buy them online because they're way cheaper. They sell these in the shop at Pueblo, but they're way more expensive, and that goes for pretty much everything. They have all the essentials you can buy there, but they're marked up like twice as much that you could just buy it online for. So a pair of flight gloves. They're not going to let you fly. They're not even going to let you pre-flight without your gloves. So make sure you have these. I know a few people who didn't, and they had to spend like $40 to buy them at the shop, and they were pretty miserable. Next up is a good knee board. So a knee board is basically a little mini clipboard that clips onto your thigh, and you'll use this during your flight to clip your mesh and data card onto, as well as to take notes. Now, this isn't essential, but it pretty much is essential, as in they don't say you're required to bring this, but I don't see how you could pull off a successful sortie without having this. So make sure you have a good knee board. It can even be a cheap one. This one was the pricier one. They sell this at the shop for like $60, but you can find a basic knee board on Amazon for like $10. So order it early so it gets here on time. Next up, this is a thigh band. It's basically to hold your checklist. And I know a lot of people like to use the rubber bands, but I prefer this one. This is, what is it called? Aero Phoenix knee band. I like it because you can strap it on. It's got fully adjustable Velcro and elastic. And the good thing about it is this top layer opens and it's got a clear portion that you can clip your checklist onto. And it makes it really nice being able to see the entire checklist without having a rubber band go across it. Because every second you save in the cockpit is one more second you can use to focus towards something else. And I know that sounds crazy, but you're so task saturated when you're flying that every little thing makes a difference. So a good elastic band for your thigh. I forgot what it's called, like a knee band. Look up Pilot's chart holder or knee band or something like that on Amazon. You should find it. I think if you just search Aero Phoenix, AeroPhoenix on Amazon, you'll be able to find this one. Highly recommended. Next thing is a ruler. This isn't mandatory. I brought it because, let me set that alarm off. I brought it because it had this hole puncher, and it's kind of nice to be able to hole punch your things and keep everything organized. I'd recommend one of these. It's like a ruler hole puncher built in. Bought this at Walmart for $3. Also comes in handy for drawing lines on your chart with. Next thing is a pair of shades. So this is Air Force prescription. If you have glasses and you want some prescription sunglasses, go talk to medical and they'll make you prescription sunglasses for free. So I didn't know that. That's pretty sweet. These sunglasses are basically my glasses prescription. And if you don't wear glasses, just bring a good pair of shades. You can also buy clip-on sunglasses if you wear glasses like me. They just look kind of dorky. They'll also give you a stopwatch. It's kind of hard to explain why you'll need this, but I do recommend carrying it on you and bringing one. I use it when you enter the last block of your training. You'll start doing what's called visual navigation routes, and this comes in handy as a secondary stopwatch. You'll use the one that's in your aircraft to basically measure the time, the distance to where you're going. They'll have a stopwatch built into the dashboard, but it comes in handy to have a second one in case that doesn't work for some reason. And it also, I use this as a secondary measuring device to calculate my start and end times. That sounds kind of weird to explain to those who haven't been there yet, but long story short, this comes in handy to have, and it won't hurt you to carry it around your neck. What else we got? They issue you this flashlight. You don't really need it. I'd pack it just in case, but you won't use a flashlight because none of our flights will be at night. Maybe for those of you who have really early goes, like the 4:30 goes or 5:30 goes, but I think the sun is out by then. Next up is this thumb strap for gloves. Basically what this is it allows you to have a pencil handy on you while you're flying. So while you're flying, your hand's going to be on the stick and your left hand's going to be on the throttle. This little strap allows you to have a pencil within reach at any point if you need to make a note, if you need to make a correction towards your calculations. It's really nice having this handy right at the palm of your, right at your palm versus having to constantly reach over to your shoulder and like pull out a pencil and put it back, pull out a pencil, put it back. This way you can just like take your hand off the stick, right hand on the stick. Very underrated. Not a lot of people flew with this, and I don't understand why, because this is one of those things that will save you a lot of time in the cockpit. And honestly, it's just safer too, because if you drop a pencil and lose it, the maintainers will get really upset. Next, we've got our E6B or MB4A, whatever you want to call it, flight computer. They'll issue this to you at Pensacola, and if you don't have one, you can buy one, but they also have their own that they'll lend to you up there if you need to use it. Their ones aren't as good quality, so maybe invest in like a higher quality one, like a metal one, or a better brand, and it'll come in pretty handy. I'll do a video tutorial on how to use this thing, because the lesson that they give you up there is super like a crash course, and then they just kind of expect you to get it, and if you don't get it, then you're kind of screwed, because you're expected to apply the lesson within like 2 days of learning it. So I'll make a thorough tutorial on this to help people out who might have some confusion about what to do and what to pull on and what to spin. And I know it looks super complicated, but trust me, it's easy peasy stuff. And that does it for everything in this bag. I made a note here with a few more things that will come in handy. Clothing I mentioned. Bring some clothes that'll keep you warm if you're cold. Bring some clothes if you want to go out. A lot of people for some reason didn't foresee themselves going out and didn't pack any outdoor clothes. So just, I don't know, pack some clothes if you want to go hiking and go out to the bars and stuff. Bring a lot of mechanical pencils. You'll lose them. I lend them out to people. They go vanishing. I don't know where like half of my pencils went. Just bring a ton of mechanical pencils. You'll need them to erase and also to make corrections to the E6B. Like this thing uses a pencil in this section. So bring some pencils. Motion sickness medicine. If you're prone to getting motion sick, have a lot of those. I know I've heard that ginger pills help. Whatever you're going to take though, make sure you run it by the med clinic to make sure it's okay to take, because the Air Force is picky about medications. Flashcards. Bring some empty index cards. It helps with studying. I use Quizlet myself, so I wasn't really using those, but I saw a ton of people in my flight and other flights use index cards. So that comes in pretty handy too. And lastly, bring a ton of Sharpies. And I'm talking the fine point, not the pens, not the Sharpie pens, but like the fine point Sharpie permanent markers. The fine point, make sure you get those. Or the ultra fine, the super needle thin ones, because you'll be marking up these charts and these, they're maps, but they like them to be called charts. You'll be marking up these charts, and the finer the point is on your marker, the more you can write in, and the more it'll be helpful to you, because the more detail you have on your charts, the better your flight will go, at least for me. So fine point Sharpies, ultra fine point Sharpies, and highlighters. Highlighters to do your mission data cards. So mission data cards and all these charts and all these things that I'm talking about, I'm going to do completely separate videos walking you guys through those too. And those should be coming out this in the next few days. I'll go into more detail on those, but that covers the materials you need to bring, and I don't know why this isn't auto-focusing anymore. So that went on really, really long. Hopefully it provided some info for IFT. And over the next few days, like I said, I'll do some more videos on the mission data cards, how to calculate the different metrics you're expected to with the E6B computer, and I'll walk you guys through a chart, a sample chart, and things like that. But that covers the initial thoughts that were in my head about IFT and kind of the materials you need to bring. If there's anything else that I missed, I will try to put it down in the comments below. And beyond that, if you guys have any questions, just let me know. So this went on really long. Thanks for sticking with me. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next few videos. Peace.